Hello, I'm Matteo, the Chief Mobile Opinionist here at Tech Travel Geeks. And this is the Tech Travel Geeks setup video for the Vivo X51 5G. This is a follow-up to our previous video where we unboxed the device and walked through the main hardware features of the Vivo X51 5G. If you don't already, please do subscribe to the Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube. If you tap that notification button, the bell, you'll also be notified of when we release new videos, whether they're unboxings and setup videos of devices, long-term reviews, or any other video that we think is relevant to consumer electronics and gadgets that will make the travel experience better. Right then, so we've walked through the Vivo X51 5G. We previously saw that the SIM tray is at the bottom of the device, and I'm now going to use a SIM ejector tool to eject that and put in my SIM card. So again, thanks to Vivo for sending us this review device. As you can see, this is a dual SIM device. It takes 2 nano SIMs. There's no space for a micro SD card for expanding your storage. So I'm just going to clip in my nano SIM. This is a 5G nano SIM, but I may have to go for a bit of a walk on Monday to see if I can find some 5G signal. It's not yet something very common in this part of Edinburgh. So I've popped my SIM card in. Let's use that side power button to turn the Vivo X51 5G on. So again, the Vivo X51 5G is powered by Android, and this is an Android device with full Google Play services. Now, it seems to have already picked up information that I'm on Vodafone, so I'm going to tap on that, and that's automatically going to set the APN. I'm going to select English United Kingdom because that's where I am, and go ahead with start. So, for some reason it thinks we're in Germany. That's definitely not the case. We Brexited to not be in Germany. Let's see where we are. Scroll down to United Kingdom. There we go. So, end user license agreement. I trust Vivo. It's a good company, in my view. I've read the privacy terms, and there's an e-warranty card. Interesting. I'm assuming that because this is a review device, there is no warranty, but depending on which market you're in, there may be different levels of guarantee and support available. So, we're now going to select my Planet Express Wi-Fi network, and there we go. So we're connected to Wi-Fi. So unlike previous devices, I am not going to set this up as a copy of another device. I'm setting this up as a brand new device. I really want to go through that full setup experience. Let's see what it's like. I'm going to sign into my Google account. So that's me signed into my Google account, and it's now getting the info. We're connected to a fast Wi-Fi connection. This is my BT internet connection, which is fiber to the premises. So I'm not going to restore any backup. As you can see, I have quite a few devices on my Google account. It's one of the joys and discomforts of being a tech reviewer. Sometimes your device list on the Google is quite long. Now, this is a feature that is exclusive to Europe and the European Union. This is a ballot box. So in this part of the setup, you choose what the default search engine is as part of the operating system. You can choose between Privacy Wall, Info.com, Google, and Bing. In this case, I'm going to choose Google because that's who I do use the most. I do also enjoy using Bing occasionally. For some things, I do find it better, but I think that's a good option. Now we go through our setup and choosing what services we want the Google Assistant to provide us with. I'm definitely going to go for the weather. It's always quite interesting in the UK, as well as a very deep and thoughtful subject matter for conversation and small talk. I'm going to go for the news, doom scrolling or not. I'm going to ask for quotes and jokes. I really do enjoy the Google Assistant jokes, so let's see how that goes. Now, I've already set up the Google Voice Assistant with the previous devices I've had, whether they're actual assistant speakers or smartphones. So I'm going to go ahead with this, and it probably won't need my voice because in this case, Google already has all that data. So it's now going to finish setting up the assistant. It may take a few moments. So that's my voice assistant setup. Now, the Vivo X51 5G has NFC, so I can use my Monzo card, my Google Pay account on the device, and use it for contactless payments on the device, which is very handy, especially in these times where we're being encouraged not to use cash. So at the moment, I've set everything up. I don't think I really need to do much else. Let's move on to the security side of things, where we have screen lock, fingerprint, and face recognition. So let's go ahead with that. I'm going to set up a fingerprint, but before I do that, as usual, I need to set up a personal identification number. So there we are. I have set up the PIN number, and now we're being presented with a screen where we start inputting our fingerprint scanner. Now there's an extra privacy setting that they collect fingerprint feature data, that this is encrypted and stored locally, and that it's not sent to any third parties. That's great. So you can see here at the bottom we have the spot for the in-screen fingerprint scanner. I'm going to tap that. And as you can see, if you look very carefully, when I press my fingerprint on the fingerprint scanner, it lights up a little. That's because this is not sonic fingerprint scanner like some companies like Samsung use quite often. This is a light-based one. Essentially, oops, I've done it twice. Essentially what happens here is that the phone blasts light onto your finger for fingerprint recognition. This is very similar to what we saw on the Huawei P30 Pro and other devices with in-screen fingerprint readers. So that's our phone set up apparently. Now let's see what the experience is like. This is pretty clean. There's obviously a live wallpaper. You can just see that little car in autumn driving across the bridge. Very sweet. The clouds are moving very gently. But here we are on the home screen, and it looks like a pretty simple, clean version of Android. This is in fact the FunTouch OS. Really, I'm not joking. That is the name of the Android distribution that Vivo uses. But in actual fact, my first impression is that it is very, very clean. It's pretty much Pixel-like. Let's see if there's anything that stands out that is not Pixel-like. For example, we're in the settings menu. Let's see about the system navigation. This is something extra that you won't find on a Pixel or on many Android One devices. In this case, you can choose between 3-button navigation, the 3 buttons at the bottom, or gesture navigation. So that's good, and you can also hide the bottom navigation bar. So let's go through the tutorial and see what gesture navigation is like on the Vivo X51 5G. So to go back to the home screen, swipe up from bottom. Great. To view background apps is swipe up and hold. So this is very, very like what we've seen on Pixel devices. And to go back, you swipe in from left. Great. And the same from the right. So I think I'm going to live with gesture navigation. It feels pretty good. In terms of languages and inputs, it's Gboard by the default, so Google's own keyboard. It's not a third-party one or Vivo's own one. What I'm going to do here is go through some of the settings. I'm actually going to add a language that I use quite a lot in messaging. Oops, Italian, and I'm going to choose Italy Italian. So there we go, I've now set up my second language in the Google keyboard, Gboard. Now, in the Gboard settings, there's a few things I do quite often. So I prefer a darker theme, great, and I take off the keyboarders. That's that done. I am also going to go into the preferences and just change a few things. So one thing I don't like is haptic feedback on key press. I know that this is something some people prefer, but I prefer not having that. Even though I have to say that the first impressions I've had of the Vivo X51 5G is that the haptic feedback is very, very good. But that's not something I would like. And the other thing I will switch off is glide typing. It is something many do enjoy as a feature, whether they're using SwiftKey by Microsoft or the Google keyboard, but I will switch that off. And that's that. Now, there we go. So that's very straightforward. Let's have a look at the Play Store and see if we can get some key apps. So I'm going to install the COVID-19 Protect Scotland, the Scottish tracker app, so that I know if I've been exposed or if I have exposed others to COVID-19. So that's great, I've installed that, I'll set that up later. Let's install Netflix. Now, the reason I'm doing that is that the Vivo X51 5G supports a screen standard or a display standard, which is HDR10+. That means that if you have high dynamic range video, you will be able to view that in HDR+. Other apps that I'm going to get is obviously Twitter. You can follow myself at Tudorleo on Twitter. You can follow the Tech Travel Geeks. You can also follow our Chief Aperture Officer, Lukasz, who is going to be editing this pretty long video and then uploading it for the Tech Travel Geeks to publish. So you may not see him in many videos, but you can thank him for the excellent editing he does. So whilst we're in the Google Play Store, I'll update all the apps that are there. Obviously, Facebook has been pre-installed in this case. All the usual Google apps are there, but I had to install Twitter. I'll probably need to install Telegram. There we go. And a few other messaging apps that I use, but for now we'll leave that running in the background. Obviously, I'm getting emails here, lots of Google notifications. One thing we haven't looked at is what the home screen does when you swipe left. So has FunTouch OS changed that? So no, we have the Google feed. It is very, very close to pure Google launcher that we find on the Vivo X51 5G. And I have to say, with this wallpaper by default, that's Dodge selfie camera, that's in this case 32 megapixel selfie camera, doesn't really stand out much. The only times you notice it's there is if you're on a white screen like this. So very good placement of the Dodge. It's not intrusive at all in normal use. And let's see if there's any system updates. System navigation, we've looked at that, so nothing here. Vivo ROM, FunTouch OS 10 Global. So yes, as I was saying, this isn't a joke. This is the actual name of the Android distribution that's on it. So we've set up the smartphone, we've had a quick walk through the Vivo FunTouch OS operating system. That's based on Android 10, but it has a few extra features. Now, because this is an OLED screen, one thing I do enjoy is dark mode. So let's go into the display and brightness settings and turn on dark theme. There we go. And you also have a section where you can choose the screen colors. Do you want standard, normal, which mutes it a little bit, or bright, which maybe oversaturates things a little? I'm going to stay with standard because I want to see what Vivo's color reproduction settings are like, but it's nice to know you have the option to go and change those settings if needed. Dynamic effects, personalized settings, so you can change ambient light, fingerprint icon notification or animation. So this is the default we saw earlier when setting up the fingerprint scanner. That's a slightly animated, swirly one. Ooh, a sort of designy, cubey thing. Abstract. And a normal fingerprint one. I'm going to go for that square one. I quite like that. So that's been applied. What else is there? Facial recognition animation. We haven't set that up. I don't think I will in this case. Charging animation. Ooh. So because Vivo X51 5G has flash charge, so their own fast charging technology, you get a series of icons telling you when that's happening. And there's actually multiple pages of it. That's really cool. Nice. So I'll leave it on the default one, or will I? I think I'll put that one on for now, and then cycle through them and choose which one I prefer. As I mentioned, Vivo Flash Charge is, in this case Vivo Flash Charge 2, is the charger that comes in the box as we saw in the unboxing. And that is, in this case, a 33 watt charger. That's pretty fast, so you can expect to have pretty much days use charge after not too long plugged in if you're using the original charger and cable. I will probably be trying this out with some of my gallium nitride or GaN chargers and see how it performs with different cables and chargers. Okay then, so we've been through the majority of the setup. Let's see what YouTube looks like. So the Vivo X51 5G has that nice full high definition plus display. Let's see what we can see here. The late Philip J. Fry, Futurama's final masterpiece. Ready for Black Friday, AO. So the speaker is quite bassy here. That feels quite good. So it's down to your personal preference. Maybe the Vivo X51 5G may not be the device for you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Killen. I have my own medical practice. And
So what I'm going to do now is turn auto rotate on. By default it was off. I do use that when flipping the screen around to watch some content. So, whoops. So there is some ghost touches happening there when using the device in landscape. I didn't want to do that, but I exited my YouTube video. Or the YouTube video is updating the app. So let's have a look at a Tech Travel Geeks video. In this case, the video we had of the KW Mobile case. So plenty of bass coming from that bottom fire speaker. Not hearing anything at the top, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So plenty of bass there. The screen is nice and clear. Let's ramp up the settings for the display quality. I'm going to go full up to 1080p, which is what the screen is rated for. It depends on what your personal preference is. I'm not too bothered by curved screens, but for video consumption, some people don't particularly like it. In terms of build quality, the Vivo X51 5G is a lovely premium build with glass and metal around it. I really quite like this. It reminds me a lot of the Huawei P30 Pro. It's marginally bigger, but slightly sleeker. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. It will probably take me a while and maybe a side-by-side comparison to decide. But I have to say, the physical form factor is lovely. That curved screen is one of the things that you either like or don't. I need to spend more time with the device to actually decide what I think about it. But I have to say, overall, first impressions, whilst things were going on in the background, whilst we set up the Vivo X51 5G, is that this is a lovely device. I didn't notice at any point that this isn't an 8 series Snapdragon chipset. This is running on the Snapdragon 765G, which is the same chipset we saw on the Google Pixel 5 and the OnePlus Nord. So we know that that's a very capable chipset. Vivo seem to have done a good job of integrating software and hardware and providing a very smooth user experience. That's probably also improved by that 90Hz HDR10 display, but we'll need to see in the long run how that performs, what the battery life is, and so forth. So I think my video can be wrapped up here. Unlocking and locking with the fingerprint scanner is very fast, and I like the new setting icon that we set here. Last thing before we close the video is I'll put it in the included jelly case that Vivo provided in the box. This is obviously an optimized case, which works very, very well. You'll see that on the back it has the space to raise up the camera module and avoid getting scratched. It doesn't cover the screen in any places at the sides, which is great. And it fits snugly, so it doesn't add much in the terms to volume to the Vivo X51 5G, and protects it where the phone in the key places. And just as we saw in the unboxing, there is a pre-installed screen protector on the device, which is really, really nice. It's good to see that's in place and very tightly fitted to the screen, so it's almost not noticeable. Right then, we'll wrap up this setup video of the Vivo X51 5G. Thank you for watching, and if you don't already, please do subscribe to the Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube. We will be back with more content covering this device, the Vivo X51 5G, but we'll also be back with more content about the Vivo Y20s and the Vivo Y70, as well as accessories like audio accessories from Vivo. So thanks to Vivo for sending us the review device, thank you for watching, and we will speak to you soon.